Good morning. Thanks for stopping in. And I hope you enjoy this episode of where did I put that thing? It had to be said. Like most of us, you've probably fumed over time wasted on bureaucratic procedures. Well, this week we learned that red tape, in some cases, is what's keeping us all safe. The Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin III, revealed yesterday that aliens are real. They have indeed visited the Earth, and in fact are here right now. We have confirmation that two aliens, we don't know where they're from, are here on Earth as we speak, he announced to an astounded pool of reporters. The thing is, they landed in Mexico, and the authorities there just assumed they were from Venezuela, so they sent them to the U.S. border, as they do. They've been apparently trying to get into the U.S. To present what seemed to be their list of demands for our surrender to our leader for about 10 years now. Austin further described their efforts to invade our country. They've made it into the U.S. a couple of times, but the Border Patrol agents there keep picking them up and sending them back to Mexico. They don't speak English very well, as you might expect, so the guards just assume they're from Venezuela and ship them back across the border. Asked if this confusion meant that the aliens looked just like people, he clarified. No, they look like aliens all right, but to the border authorities, anyone who doesn't look just like them is an alien. So they apparently haven't noticed the antennae or extra legs. Austin shook his head in sympathy with the visitors. You know, it's sort of like that Tom Hanks movie about the fella who's stuck in the airport terminal for years, but this time with real aliens. He paused to consider. You know, if they had Tom Hanks with them, they probably could have gotten in with no problem. Asked if, now that we know about them, they would be welcomed into the country, Austin replied strongly, No, that would violate border security regulations, which take precedence above all other considerations. Aliens is aliens, after all. The Defense Secretary added a final thought. They really should have just landed in Times Square. They would have been taken seriously there. Luann Schnitt, an advertising executive for a big pet food company, is in hot water today with senior support organizations. In a presser on Wednesday, she was asked about a disturbing new dog food label. The newly designed can for savory beef and rice shows an elderly woman, spoon in hand, sharing a serving of canned dog food with an adorable puppy. She was asked if this meant that the company was suggesting that elderly people should be eating dog food. She responded in a huff. Well, of course. Industry experts have long said that canned dog food is a valid source of nourishment and nutritional value for humans as well as their beloved pets. Dog food, at least. We don't really have the data yet on cat foods. She went on to say, dog food was originally intended as a cheap food staple for the poor and the elderly, which is pretty much saying the same thing. It's only been recently that big pet food companies made the leap to focusing their marketing of this material on pets. Schnitt added, I mean, that's what McDonald's used to be for. Stomach-filling crap at rock-bottom prices. But then rich Gen Xers started eating there by choice, and the prices went through the roof. But Alpo, well, not Alpo, but at least generic dog food, is still in most Americans' price range. When questioned about the nutritional value for humans, she responded heatedly, "Hey, there's a lot of good stuff in there. There's grain and there's some animal products. And who's to say that noses and other anatomical features are not every bit as nutritious as steak and pork loin? It's certainly better than what most Americans eat on a daily basis. I mean, would you seriously argue that a granola bar is not just a dog biscuit and a fancy wrapper?" She did caution, though, that no one should be consuming fish food from those little cans. Aquarium dandruff? No, no one even has a clue what's in that stuff, she assured us. Schnitt closed the talk by passing out sample serving cans of their chicken and vegetables entree. This reporter has to admit it was way better than the lunch I had at that chain Mexican place earlier today. And the puppy on the label is so cute. Texas's chief legal representative upped the stakes yesterday on Senate Bill 8, which allows anyone to sue anyone in the state who has performed or aided in an abortion. The attorney explained, "We're not seeing quite the flood of lawsuits that we expected, so we're doubling down. An amendment to the bill will not only allow suits, but require them. If you receive any sort of state funding, Medicaid, tuition assistance, unemployment, majority of our population, in other words, you damn well better have a Senate Bill 8 lawsuit in the works, or we're pulling your application. We demand compliance here in the home of the Alamo." Texas's top official announced his support and even went one further, saying that he plans to sue anyone who isn't suing someone. "I've built a whole tent city here full of lawyers, ready to start going through the phone book and issuing subpoenas," the official stated unequivocally. "And I'm not interested in excuses. If you don't know anyone who's eligible under the bill, well, just pick a Democrat and sue them." Asked if those suits wouldn't likely be dismissed out of hand by courts, the official chuckled. "We have a judge down here who is, let's say, copacetic to anything we want to do." The official was later overheard telling a financial backer, "Of course it's nonsense. The whole bill is just BS. But we have to show them the fire and brimstone. That's what gives my supporters a Woody. Am I right?" In a recent interview, Ian Ambrose, the leader of the long-standing prog rock band Thomas Crapper, reminisced how, in their heyday, they were very popular in Russia. That Medvedev fellow, the current Deputy Secretary of Russia's Security Council, met with us when we played over there in the 70s and told us that Scuba, our first record, was his favorite album. We didn't realize then the problems that would cause us. The band has long been known for its changing lineups of musicians over the years. This was usually attributed to Ambrose's perfectionism and shifting musical styles. The singer and oboist recently spilled the beans about the real reason behind it. "Oh no, none of those gents just left the band. they were all kidnapped by the KGB. He explained that Vladimir Putin was also a big fan of prog rock. Crapper, Dark Indigo, Mac Cadillac, lots of bands. Putin was a behind-the-scenes guy back then, but he still had a lot of power in the security services. Putin had aspirations of being a rock star back then, but rather than form his own band, he'd just grab guys from other bands that he liked. Ambrose pointed to a picture of Thomas Crapper's first lineup on his office wall. Archie, Milton, Basil, they all got nabbed to play the Dacha belt with Putin, just like those other bands. Eventually they'd be let go when he fixated on some other gents, but it hurt a lot of bands. We always wondered if he'd show up in the popular music scene someday. I had a bet with my guitarist that Boy George was actually Putin in drag. He paused to enjoy my shocked reaction. Turns out not, but I do have a bit of a daft idea. Have you ever seen that recent pop duo that wears the helmets? You never see them and Putin in the same room together. Know what I mean? That's it for this week's episode. Thanks for watching and hit all the buttons. I hope to see you again next week for